So my name is Nick Kuntis, and I'm doing a presentation today because I'm a student at the University of Windsor, and part of my requirement is to do a community service project. And I thought no better organization to work with than Youth Opportunities Unlimited today, and just sharing some of my expertise in the skilled trades.
Hello, Tim, and my fellow teacher candidates. This will serve as my video presentation of my service learning project that I did with Youth Opportunities Unlimited. The reason I chose Youth Opportunities Unlimited was twofold. One, most of the other organizations that I was initially interested in working with, I was unable to because I either serve on the board of directors with them, such as Dad Club London or my local Optimist Club, or other organizations that I have worked extensively with in the past, like the Salvation Army and the Boys and Girls Club of London. So I tried to find something outside of my typical network, and that's when I came up with the Youth Opportunities Unlimited. I had known previously about them, I've seen them at several events, and I'd always been curious about the services that they do provide to those in my community. So I'd like to give you a little bit of backstory about Youth Opportunities Unlimited and what they do. So Youth Opportunities Unlimited serves approximately 3,600 youth between the ages of 16 to 30 to access system supports available each year. Whether they're in need of basic needs such as housing or access to physical, mental, or dental or health care, or education and employment supports. Now, it says 16 to 30, but they also serve youth younger than that, and they serve adults older than 30 in times of need as well. Funding for Youth Opportunities Unlimited comes from both the federal and provincial levels, through the Canadian Job Grant programs, and through the Government of Ontario. And last year alone, 856 basic needs supports were offered out of the Youth Action Center that they run. 303 youth accessed the Emergency Food Bank. Over 1,000 crisis intervention supports were given. 337 youth accessed the youth shelter, but out of that, over 700 were turned away due to capacity limitations. 245 youth were supported in secured housing. 107 youth were supported in avoiding eviction to remain housed. 504 enrolled in programming career services. 274 youth secured employment. 122 of them returned to education. 137 youth accessed training within the Youth Opportunities Unlimited Social Enterprise Program. And 813 referrals for physical and mental health support services were made. Now, some of the services that Youth Opportunities does provide are youth centers, youth shelters, housing services, career services, and job boards. And lastly, they have an enterprise services sector, which is what I was really interested in focusing on and working with during this presentation. Now, out of all those services, it was the enterprise services division that I was really excited to work with. Because in that, under that umbrella, they have many different facets that they like to operate. One of them is the Youth Opportunities Unlimited Made It Cafe. And that's in the heart of London. It's in our downtown core. And what it is, it's a makeshift restaurant facility where youth, they learn to cook, to prepare, to sell meals to people from the downtown area. It gives young people a hands-on experience in working in the culinary arts and teaches them some very valuable life skills. Another part of the division is the Youth Opportunities Unlimited Made It Recycling. And what it is, it's a Ministry of Environment approved recycling facility that serves local businesses, both large and small, with their recycling needs. And the training at this facility gives young people an opportunity to learn basic machineries such as balers and compactors, as well as processing recyclable goods and sorting stations and more. So it gives them a lot of hands-on skills working with some of those machines. And lastly, the Youth Opportunities Unlimited Made It workshop. And this is a workshop led by a bunch of mentors that are very familiar with cabinetry and cabinet making and carpentry. And what this workshop does is it allows young people to build high quality trellises, planters, Muskoka chairs, chef boards, and so much more for retail sale. So my presentation focused on an introduction to the skilled trades, the opportunities and the pathways that are out there, because that seems to be my bread and butter. And I also give a physical demonstration on how to build toolboxes. And then we had this little project where we made these metal bowls just by forming up some sheet metal. I brought my friend out, Patrick, who is an organizer for the sheet metal local here in town. And he gave a demonstration about the union and the opportunities and pathways that are available there through the union. And we both shared some of our personal experiences through the trades, which his experiences and my experiences were very much different in how he got into the trades. Patrick is somebody that I met several years ago. I used to be a member of Local 473, but I'd never met him at the time. He was never the organizer when I was a member of the union. But through a lot of the skilled trades promotions that I do here in the community, I ended up meeting with him and forming a bit of a friendship. And I relied on that friendship for this project because the Local 473 was kind enough to donate the metal materials that we were able to use during this presentation. So it was a great opportunity to further cement that friendship, that connection that I have with Patrick and Local 473. Now, for young people that are currently enrolled in high school, there's a lot of options in how to get into the skilled trades. We have the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program, we have co-op placements, we have SHSM opportunities for young people to get some skills and some training. But for youth that are no longer in school for whatever reason, their options are very limited. Now, while they are limited, there are still a plethora of opportunities for young people to get involved in the skilled trades that aren't Ontario Youth Apprenticeship driven. There's a lot of federal and provincial programs out there to help young people get exposure to the skilled trades. And that's what I want to focus on. I want to focus on how you can still get into the skilled trades and learn some of these vocational pathways that are out there. But it takes a little bit more legwork because it's not fed to you quite as easily as it is in high school. And that's all my goal was to provide an informative session for a lot of people here. And there was a lot of youth, very diverse backgrounds that were very interested in learning more about the skilled trades. My presentation ran for about an hour and a half, and about 45 minutes of that was the presentation that I gave, talking about my background experience, how I got into the trades. I talked a lot about organizations that are out there that will assist young people getting into the skilled trades, like apprenticeshipsearch.com, Tools in the Trade. LIUNA has a lot of yearly career fairs that they put out there. I talked about Level Up career fairs that are out there. I talked about getting out there, meeting employers, and the importance of making those connections. I talked about how to prepare a resume to try to find employment in the skilled trades. I talked about what to put on a resume in case you didn't have a lot of experience in the career that you're looking for. I discussed on how to make connections, how to present yourself during an interview. Talked about some of the things some volunteer activities that you could put down on a resume. I mentioned some federal programs that were available that young people could look into. Youth Opportunities Unlimited was really excited to work with me on this project because they are wanting to move more into promoting the skilled trades and focusing a lot of their employment services on getting youth involved in the skilled trades. So they're working tirelessly in our community to build networks, I guess, with those that work in the trades. So to have someone like myself out and the union out, they were really excited for. Under the success criteria of our SLP project, one of the things that we were supposed to talk about was what this placement taught me about the importance of community involvement. And to be quite honest, this opportunity didn't teach me more than I already knew. I've been working with community partnerships for as long as I can remember. I've been volunteering my time for at least 10 years in my community now. I've always understood the importance of building partnerships and working with community organizations. I have a bit of I've made a bit of a name for myself, I guess, in the city for that work that I put in, and I've enjoyed every second of it. It's because of those opportunities that I've grown this network that I do have within my community, or even just outside of my community. I is partly why I got into the field of teaching, because I wanted to give back. I wanted to share experiences. I wanted to talk about realities, the stigmas, the stereotypes, all these things that I always talk about in a lot of these videos that I produce, like my YouTube channel. It was just one more level of experience, I suppose. And the nice thing about this presentation is after I was completed, because I've never given a public presentation before. I've never been a speaker on that level. That Youth Opportunities was extremely excited over this. They thought it was a phenomenal result. They were so happy to have us. They immediately asked me if I'd consider doing this again in the future for them, to which obviously I said yes. But not only that, they went to their socials afterwards, and they talked about the day that we had and their excitement over what transpired. And I actually had two other organizations from here in London. One of them is called Hutton House, and Tools in the Trade also reached out to me, which is a bigger organization that promotes the trades. But Hutton House also is an employment services organization, and they had asked if I'd consider doing the same presentation for them as well. So I thought that's pretty interesting. But as for the importance of community involvement, like I said, it didn't teach me anything that I didn't already know. I have always thought it was extremely important to give back to my community, to share. I always felt as part of being a journey person is sharing. I thought there was an obligation to I've always felt, I suppose, that there's an obligation to share that experience in order to sustain the health of the trades moving forward. I spent 20 years working in industry, being extremely successful, never being out of work in that 20 years. And I feel like the least that I could do is give back to that industry, to that trade, that sector that treated me so well for my entire life, to pass that knowledge on to the next group of young people out there to say, hey, these are fantastic opportunities. Now, the participants seemed extremely excited to try out some of these projects. They seemed very keen on my presentation, which I was kind of concerned that I might have a hard time keeping their attention, but I did bring a lot of paraphernalia with me, a lot of information that I've been gathering from going to trade shows. I had stacks of OEAP pamphlets, which really does a great job of showing the amount of skilled trades that are in Ontario. We have 144 of them, and I think just that visualization of some of those careers that are out there is a great tool to use during these presentations. I shared a lot of paperwork from LIUNA and some of their career opportunities that they have. Tools in the Trade, apprenticeshipsearch.com had a lot of pamphlets from them. A lot of stuff from Skilled Trades Ontario. So there was a lot there that the young people could take away at the end of the day, and they could use that to further any research if they had any questions or comments, or if they want to do any follow-up on their own. So they really appreciated that. They thoroughly enjoyed building toolboxes and these little bowls that we brought along. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed just sharing my experiences, fielding questions, talking about some of the realities. These are physically demanding jobs, but they are extremely rewarding jobs.
Challenges. They can be physical. These trades can be physical. That's the one downside to trades.
And then I enjoyed showing and getting a kick out of watching young people use tools for the first time. And this might have been the first time they handled sheet metal tools. And watching their excitement when they realized how to use the tools, or that they could even just do the project that was presented to them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can remember how to do this properly first. So we're going to use the end of our ball peen hammer to give it some texture first. And you can put as little or as much texture as you want on this to begin with. As much texture as I want on mine. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of or seen Etsy before, but these are a big hit on Etsy. So the first thing we have to do here is we have to put these pliers on the edge here of the neck and the edge of the tail. And once we have that lined up, then we can bend it.
Don't be shy, don't bite.
About not quite 90 degrees. And then we're going to go to the opposite side and do the same thing. We're going to go to the neck and tail, line up as best as we can there, and then we're just going to bend it over.
So what we're going to do here is we've got the base of the toolbox, and then we got the sides here.
So far, so good. Haven't wrecked it yet. And then we're going to take these pliers,
Fittings together, what we call
and we kind of have to put the center of the jaw around the horn here,
squared round,
and line it up with the edge of the neck,
and the ductwork
and just
or the fittings, they have this
push that down a little bit.
It's called a Pittsburgh, so that's what you see here.
This one's a bit trickier, but we got to go under the horns here
How's the, I'm just going to show
and
you.
lift the head up a little bit. I guess lift the head up. My bad.
So we run the metal while it's flat through a machine called a Pittsburgh machine. It creates this fold.
Is the right pass so far? I think so.
So
And then we're going to kick the nose down of the ball,
this is called the male edge.
like so.
Piece.
And then you can just manipulate these with your fingers
Like so.
as you see fit.
And then you hammer this metal
And
over
same with the tail.
to create the seam
Tail
that
up.
goes together. So
Give it a
that's what we're
little-
going to do. is
your own little
hammer
flare on
this
it.
Pittsburgh,
But that,
seam over to
easy as it is.
make it solid and hold it.
Now this might seem a little childish to some, but a lot of what you're doing in Shiva is you're manipulating metal to make it work. And you'll see if you go on the toolbox project itself, it's very much the same. You're manipulating metal in one form or another. Who wants to go? Who wants to try next?
was exciting because I got that same feeling when I talk to my students, and they see it where it clicks to them. They have the skills and the abilities to do some of these things. So that was an enjoyable moment for sure. And unexpectedly, at the end of this presentation, I was also presented with some of the items that they make in their wood shop. So this here is a key holder that they make at that Youth Opportunities wood shop. I thought that was a nice little present. And they also gave me a charcuterie board that they prepare at Youth Opportunities Unlimited from reclaimed wood. So I thought that was a nice touch. And like I said, they went to their socials immediately after and shared their how excited they were to have me there and their gratitude for the presentation. And the CEO, whose name is Steve Cords, he went to social media and talked about how fantastic the presentation was, which I thought was really nice, because I've known Steve for several years, but I've never actually I've never met him face to face. I just know him through social media and talking to him through that. So the fact that he was really excited about it and would like me back was a good feeling. Otherwise, I thought it was a very well-ran presentation. It went better than I expected it to. What I found was very time-consuming was working on the graphics, the graphic design for this event to share across socials. I wanted to make it less about me and more about the event. And we exchanged some ideas back and forth until we came up with something very generic and very, I want to say, non-focused on me as an individual. But other than that, it was a very seamless presentation. Youth Opportunities was willing to just let me do whatever I wanted. They just wanted to work with me, and they wanted, because they've seen some of my work, so they were just excited to have me come and do a presentation. So I was given the freedom and the luxury to do whatever I wanted, and I tried to keep that in mind. I'm a representative of the University of Windsor, and I want to be seen in a professional light, so I tried to prepare something very professional, nothing that was provocative by any means whatsoever. And again, it went off very well. I enjoyed every second of it. I'm glad that this is now completed, because this was very time consuming, working back and forth, ironing out details, preparing my presentation and rehearsing delivery, and working with my partner there, Patrick, from the Sheet Metal Local, and then obviously the delivery of the presentation as a whole. So in closing, like I said several times, I really enjoyed this experience. I really appreciated being able to represent Youth Opportunities Unlimited for this project, to represent the University of Windsor. I also enjoyed speaking in an arena that was different than a classroom for a change, or in front of a camera, which has been the bulk of my public speaking to this point. I enjoyed the fact that so many other organizations, by so many other, I mean two, immediately reached out about me doing a presentation with them. I was thrilled that the young people walked away enjoying this experience, and they had already been asking for follow-up information. And I really hope that some of these young people seriously consider this opportunity. As somebody who was a single father many years ago, sole custody father, I didn't have much of an education. I was a college dropout, and getting into a skill trade saved my life. It helped me be successful and raise my son. So I'm hoping that does the same for somebody else moving forward. If I can at least reach one person to help change their life, that's all I'm looking for. So again, in closing, it was great. I hope you enjoyed this recap of my presentation, and I look forward to seeing some of my other colleagues' presentations moving forward.